Kia ora, my friends.
Kia
Hi.
ora.
Kia ora. So, I've got Mark Lindsay Early with me here today, and I wanted to share something with you that I felt would really allow me to illustrate something that's actually quite hard to show you. You know, my work as a psychotherapist, and Mark is also a psychotherapist. You know, we work in a way that's so we work in you know, we're not able to kind of share about our work. It's by its very nature confidential, and this is paramount to what we do. So when it comes to kind of trying to explain it, we can only ever kind of tell you. And so when I seize upon something that I thought, oh, actually this is kind of what we do, and it's a book that's not at all about psychotherapy, it just made me think I really want to share something of my insight with you as a way in to kind of understanding what we do, and particularly what I do, because I'm a psychoanalytically informed psychotherapist. Technically, I'm a psychodynamic psychotherapist, and I know none of these words probably mean anything to you, but I just want to, so that you can maybe Google later if you want to. But really, it means that my training was very in depth, but technically what my title is psychodynamic, but actually I work in a very psychoanalytically informed way. And what I found with this book I'm going to introduce to you shortly, and Markie's going to help me with this, is that so much of it was reflective of how we think and how we progress in the work. So I want to let Markie kind of help me with this process, because I feel like I need to just move this stand down a bit, guys, so you can see us a bit more clearly. So yeah, welcome, Markie. Thank
Hello.
you for helping me with this.
So yeah, it's interesting what you said. I think it's a little bit like, I guess, that we play a game of football. We play a football match, but it's not filmed.
Yeah.
It's a private game of football.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody else in the world knows what football is.
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to describe that?
Exactly.
So I guess sometimes it's good to have a comparison.
Exactly.
Because even if you were to sit in on a session, I mean, sometimes psychotherapy sessions are video with the client's consent and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very rare, but it does happen on certain.
But even that, it doesn't really give you a proper flavour, a proper feeling of it, because, you know, that moment in time has come off the back of maybe hours and hours of work that's gone before it, and there's a wider context. So how do you really understand what if you've not had therapy, you're not therapy, how do you really understand? So one of the things, you know, maybe...
Oh, we should introduce the book.
Yeah, I was just about to introduce
Sorry,
the book.
Markie, I've just realised I hadn't said.
I was just doing a smooth segue into
I'm so sorry. I just pounced on that.
Never mind. So I've seen you. We're both book addicts. And you've been glued to this book for 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm a slow reader, and then there's also been some issues that made me more slow.
So
it's called Iris Grace.
I think the subtitle is shouting out to me at the moment.
Oh, right, go for
I
it,
kind of feel like that subtitle is what you're trying to...
Yeah.
It kind of maybe captures a little bit of what you're trying to say.
Do you want to read that?
So the story of a little girl whose talent unlocked her silent world. Right. And the word that's jumping out for me at the moment is silent.
Absolutely. And for me too, Mark, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So do you want to just give a very quick synopsis of what this book is about?
Just give you a flavour.
Or who this book is about.
Absolutely. So as we said, guys, the book is the title is Iris Grace. It's written by Arabella Carter Johnson. So Arabella Carter Johnson is the mother of Iris Grace. And Iris Grace, you may have heard of her. You might not, the name might not mean much to you, but actually you may have actually heard of this young girl. So she is she's now, I would say, more like a child or a young person almost. She's older than obviously when this book was written, but she's a young person who is autistic. And, you know, this story is basically the story of how she was born and in the setting into which she was born, because her parents, her mother, Arabella, and her partner were already, you know, living a really full and rich life. And you get a flavour of that through the book. And then when Iris is born, what's really interesting is that, of course, as most parents, she intuits as a mother that something isn't right, but doesn't have any way of knowing what actually is the problem. And it's actually quite further into the book. I mean, not quite halfway through, but it's a good chunk of the first bit of the book is still feeling her way in the dark. And I think that for me was just so powerful to read. And particularly because Iris is blessed to have come into the world, to having these incredible parents who are so sensitive and patient.
So I haven't read this book, but what I'm wondering if, from what you've said, what sounds quite pivotal, is that the parents, maybe the mother in particular, because she's the author, were willing to take the time to kind of get Iris.
Absolutely.
What, I don't know, I'm kind of reading between the lines.
Yeah.
I'm reading between the lines that I haven't read.
Of course,
but, that not kind of coming at Iris from something's wrong, maybe it's this, maybe it's that.
Yeah.
What should we do? Who should we talk to? But kind of being able to sit with the uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Of what is going on for my little girl here? What is her world like? What's her outer world like? What's her inner world like? And kind of being willing to take the time to feel her way into that.
Exactly.
Without jumping to conclusions, like rushing for quick fixes.
Yeah. And
is that kind of...
Absolutely. That's a massive part of it. And I think for me, everything Mark said is absolutely right. And on top of that, what was so powerful was a few things. So compassion, a deep compassion that the mother showed throughout the book for her child. Obviously, it's her child, so you could say, well, of course it's her child. She's naturally going to do that.
But not all parents.
But not all parents have that capacity, let's be real. Otherwise, we wouldn't have jobs, quite frankly. If all parents were like Arabella Carter-Johnson, we wouldn't have a job, really, because, so that's the first thing that was so powerful and profound for me to read, because, of course, I tend to work with people who haven't had this experience. So I don't, we don't get that many experiences of, positive parents who are really capable. And it's not that she's magical, she's just a human being. And what was so beautiful and powerful was the frustration that she so eloquently explored, as well as the kind of mini tribes. And to be honest with you, the first part of the book is mostly pure trial and error, darkness and despair, actually. And in terms of like she's clutching at straws. She's desperate to understand in her own time. She's not taking it out on her child. She's not bringing it to the child and shaking the child, saying, "What's wrong with you?" As obviously some under-resourced parents sadly do. She's actually with her husband. Quite in the quiet evenings, they're racking their brain. They're doing their research, and most importantly, as Markie said, she's feeling her way in the dark into Iris's world, and gradually starts to piece together an understanding about what environment Iris needs, what kind of mother she needs to be, what kind of father she needs, because frankly at first Iris is not interested in her dad at all, and she can't actually bear to be around him, so that's another hurdle. And when we work as therapists, so much of what we're doing in the beginning is we've obviously got a setting, we've got a structure, we've got our training behind us, and it's years of work and research. I have a Master of Science, but I've done research, I've worked in different places, we've got all of that, but you're working with someone you don't know. And we have that humility to not impose ourselves on the person in front of us, but instead to try and enter their world and to understand from the inside out. And I think that's a beautiful thing that Arabella does for her child, and it just is so powerful to read. And as I say, really what I want to say is that if you want to understand the work of someone like me, who is an attachment informed, psychoanalytically minded, if I can get my word out, minded psychotherapist, this book will tell you a lot about how we think and how the process works, which is not at all what people think it is. People think you come into psychotherapy, you lie on a couch, some people still think this, that you lie on a couch and the person sort of barks maybe a few words at you, and then it's silence, and it's all really, you're left baffled, like, oh, maybe I'm getting better, I don't know, have a clue. It's a completely different thing. And certainly for the therapist, the internal experience of the therapist is very different to what I think a lot of people believe. But I'm just aware that I wanted to keep this a really short video. But Markie, is there anything else that strikes you that I've been banging on about in our conversations about this book, or anything else to mention?
I suppose I think it's worth saying that there are different kinds of therapy, and some therapy is much more model and tool orientated. So
Yes.
for some therapy, the therapist will have a kind of particular model, and then they'll kind of get cracking on the client in that model.
Absolutely.
Whereas
And
this more
CBT is a completely different world, of course.
I mean, it reminds me a little bit of another book, very, I'm sure my age now, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle